and welcome back to the channel. Now in this video we're going to be taking a look at the iScooter U4. Now it's not a scooter, it's an e-bike, and it comes in black and in white, and as you'll see here I was sent the black one. Now it's a folding bike and it has 16-inch wheels, but we need to get it unboxed and assembled, so let's do that and take a look and see what we think. So the first thing to do is to cut all of the straps and remove them. And then next I'll cut right up the front corners of the box, and then the front of the box will drop down just like that. Now there's always a box inside the box, and it's usually full of all the goodies. So we'll get it open and we'll see what we've got inside. So first we've got the pedals. Now as I said, it's a folding bike, but it doesn't have folding pedals. That is the first time I've seen that, but they're not too expensive to replace. Then here we've got the axle. There'll be a temporary sort of spindle in there at the moment. We have to take that out. And then we've got the charging block, and as you can see here, it does come with a UK plug, which is always perfect. And then next we've got the toolkit. Now it's a nice little toolkit in its own little wallet, and inside here you would normally find all of the tools that you need to assemble the bike. You know, spanners, Allen keys, screwdrivers, and you know, everything like that. And then next we've got the throttle. It's a thumb throttle. They do send it, and it's up to you whether you put it on the bike or not. And then next we've got the reflector. Now this goes on to the front handlebars, so we'll get that fitted in a while. And then we've got this little bell. And then after that we have got the key. Now there are two keys. There's the one in the box there, and one is attached to the handlebars on the bike. And then here we've got the rear light. Now the rear light is a standalone light. It works from its own battery and has its own separate little switch. And then last of all we've got the user manual. Now it's a good one with this bike. Nice colour photographs so you can see exactly what you need to do, and it'll give you all the information you need to ride the bike and to use the bike. And then next we start to remove all of the packaging from the bike, and there will be quite a bit of it. Now you need to take care when you're doing this, because you don't want to cut any cables or wires, and you certainly don't want to scratch the bike. And during the assembly we're going to have to install this front wheel. So obviously we're going to cut these cable ties, and then we can remove it. It's actually attached to the frame of the bike. So like I said, we'll cut these cable ties, then we can remove this wheel, and we're more or less ready to start the assembly. So the first thing we're going to do is lift the folding handlebar stem, and with its hand clamp push that and get it clamped into position. And then next we're going to install the handlebars into the stem. The handlebars are already attached to the bike with the cables, and then the next thing we do is again to apply that hand clamp and lock it into place. And then next we're going to lift up the screen and put it roughly where you want it. Remember, all of these things can be adjusted when you start using the bike. And then next we look for the correct spanner so that we can remove the temporary spindle from the front forks. Now most of the bikes come with this sort of temporary spindle that's in the forks on the bike. All you've got to do is just sort of undo them and remove it, because it's only put in there for when the bike's in transit, to make sure you don't get any damage to the forks. So there we are, we undo it and take it out just like that. Now I was working with the bike on its side, so now I've righted it and I've attached the wheel to the bike. Now here we've got some washers, and they've got a little lug on the top, as you can see there, and that locates into a hole on the actual forks of the bike. And then you put the other washer on, and then the nuts, and it's the same on both sides. What you want to do is just do those up hand tight, like you can see there, and then get two of the spanners and tighten them up. Not over tight, but just enough. And now we're going to remove this pre-installed nut and bolt, so that we can fix the front mudguard and the front light to where you can see that little bracket there on the front light. Then after that we've got to fit the braces. Now there's a brace on each side of the mudguard obviously, and there's some pre-installed bolts in there. So what we do is we just remove them with one of the Allen keys that's provided, as you can see me doing here, and then just put it through the hole on that brace and then screw it back into where obviously you had previously removed it. And then again, you just want to tighten it up, hand tight, and then with the Allen key, so that the mudguard's going to stay in place while you're using the bike. And that's what it should look like once you've done it, with the light attached, the mudguard attached, and the braces all secured and ready to go. And then next it's the rear light. Now that you can see that the light unit itself has two nuts that you need to remove from the light so that you can install it onto the frame just below the rack there on the bike. So as you can see me doing here, just take them off, and you can see that bracket there just below the rack at the rear of the bike. Just put them in there and do them up hand tight again. And then once you've done that, all you've got to do is to get the one of the spanners that's provided with the bike, and then you can tighten it all up, and it'll help keep you safe at night. And then don't forget to fit the front reflector onto the handlebars. Simple job, just one screw, so all you do is open it up slightly, clamp it over the handlebars, put the screw back in, and that's that job done. And then it should look something like that. And then the same procedure with the bell. It's just one screw, so clamp it over the handlebars, do the screw up, and that's that job done. And then next it's the pedals. Now this is the left hand side of the bike, so this pedal has a left hand thread. That's anti-clockwise. The pedal on the other side of the bike, on the right hand side of the bike, has a right hand thread. That's clockwise, which is normal. So what you do here is you just put the pedals into the thread like that and just keep turning them by hand. And then once you can't turn them anymore, get one of the spanners that's provided with the kit and do them up nice and tight, because you don't want those coming undone while you're riding the bike. And then lastly, we're going to install the saddle post down into the frame. This is always the easiest part of the job, so just put it in sort of temporarily and you can adjust it to the correct height once you start using the bike. Apply the clamp and it is ready to go. So that's the assembly all completed. Now what we need to do is to get some power into that battery, and then we can take the bike out and have some fun. Pedal assist. Let's talk about pedal assist. Now, I'm actually pedaling this bike along this track at the moment. It's just a normal path, it's on the level, and I'm pedaling this bike without any assistance whatsoever. It's not a massively heavy bike, so that's quite easy to do as long as you're on the level. Anyway, there's 3 levels of pedal assist, so let's bring that first level in. There we go. That's level 1. Now you don't feel a great deal with pedal assist 1. I have to be honest, you really don't feel much at all. I'll pop it up to level 2, and there's a little bit there, but again, it's not as much as most of the other bikes I've tried actually. Let's go into level 3. Oop! Obviously, that's obviously why it saves it all for level 3. Now, I haven't seen that before. Wow, it wants to go in pedal assist level 3. So let's pop it back down to 2, and there we are, we've slowed down. There we go. And then back to pedal assist 1. Now that does slow it down considerably, and as I said, that pedal assist 1 really doesn't do much at all. I'm actually struggling to feel that it's doing anything, to be honest with you. Back into pedal assist 2, yes, and I could feel that. Yeah, I could feel that, but like I said with this bike, it seems to save it all for level 3. We'll go back into that now. There we go. That is it. Now I'm not sure if that's on purpose, or, you know, if that's what they've done on purpose, but yeah, pedal assist level 3 on this bike is, you know, if you want to crack on a bit, that's the level to use. And there we go, and it is doing 15.5 roughly miles an hour. So I think what's happening here, personally, I'm going to go back down to pedal assist 2, Now I normally find with the pedal assist on where they've got 3 levels of pedal assist, pedal assist 1 usually gets you around about the 9 mile an hour mark, pedal assist 2 gets you to around about the 12 miles an hour, and pedal assist 3 is the 15.5. Now I'm on level 2 here and it's sitting at 7.1 miles an hour. So if I drop down to level 1, let's just do that there. Right, now you can feel that you're fighting against it a bit there as it slows down. And now that's showing 5.5 miles an hour. So I guess the parameters on this are slightly different. Yeah, that's 5.5, 5.7 in level 1. It's keeping that power for for when you bring in that level 3. So like I said, pedal assist level 1, it's not the 9 miles an hour that most of them have, it's 5.7-ish, something like that, up to level 2, and there we go a bit, and up it comes slowly, and that's up to about 7.3. So yeah, the parameters on this one are slightly different, I would say. Now 7.5, 7.6 it's doing in level 2, and I'm going to hit again that level 3, and it wants to go, and that immediately accelerates up. There we are, to 15.5 miles an hour. Well, it's different, that's for sure. It certainly is different. And let's pop it back down and slow us down a little bit here. Yeah, so I don't know if that's, well, I suppose it must be. I have watched a couple of other reviews when I was preparing to do this one, and both of them commented that level 1 and level 2 didn't do an awful lot, but level 3, in fact, level 3 does more than I expected. It just whacks away, it's gone, you know what I mean? So hold on. Let's just see if I can squeeze it round here. Whoop. There we go. Yeah, so we've had some beautiful sunny weather just lately, and I chose this day to come over here. Well, this couple of days I'm over at Rutland Water with my camper van, and I wanted to bring this bike with me. Right now, I mean, that level 2 now feels more comfortable. When you're doing that really top speed with this in level 3, the other two feel irrelevant. But once you've slowed down a bit, and I'm in level 2 now doing the 7.9, that does feel a comfortable ride. So I would imagine, yeah, this is just slightly different. But yeah, just riding along here now comfortably, 7.5, oh no, it's coming up to 8. Yeah, it's around that 7 to 8 miles an hour in level 2. And that is a nice comfortable ride if you just want to enjoy it. This is a beautiful location, especially on a sunny day. And unfortunately, it's not as sunny as it has been recently. Anyway, straight out of the box, the brakes are really good. There are no gears on this bike. As I said, the saddle is nice and comfortable. And everything works as you would expect it to. It has disc brakes front and rear. They are cable disc brakes front and rear, but for a bike like this, they're absolutely fine. So far, you know, the bike is doing really well. It's just different, but enjoyable at the same time. And as I said, that for a small bike that fits lovely in my camper van, this riding position is fantastic. Now, where do I go? Do I go down there, or do I keep going along there? I'll get back to you. So as I said, much like most of the other bikes I've ridden, even though you get some that are really dedicated off-roaders virtually, and quite a few that are basically city bikes, as this one is really a bit of a commuter, there's no reason why you can't take a bike like this. It's handling this really well. No reason why you can't take a bike like this off-road, if you like. I mean, okay, if this was a little bit wet and slippy, the tyres wouldn't have the grip for it, but you know, it's quite an uneven track this is, and this bike is handling it lovely. Now I'm comparing this to a couple of weeks ago when I took my 14-inch wheel bike out, and I was really struggling with it, more so than I ever have done. So this one has turned up just right, to be quite honest, because not only because, as I mentioned, the height of it, you feel more like a proper bike, but it's just nice to ride. Don't take my word for it, just about everybody I've seen that's tried this comments on how comfortable a ride it is and a nice riding position. It really is, and you know, for the price of this bike, it's just amazing. And now I'm getting more used to this pedal assist, which, as I said, operates a lot different to any others that I've actually tried. As you see, here we are, this is in pedal assist 3, and it's pulling up this hill no problem with all these bumps and everything. But it wouldn't do that in pedal assist 2 and 1, I'm quite sure. Maybe with 2, but this bike, you've got that power on pedal assist 3. You know, that pedal assist 3 will, in my opinion, more or less would do anything. And there we are. I think I'll just stop here and just show you, if I can just lift that up slightly, this beautiful location. Rutland Water. It's late afternoon now, and I'm really enjoying this ride, and particularly on this bike. I can't emphasize enough just how nice it is to be riding a small wheel bike, but it feels like a full-size bike. So what I'm going to do now is get back to the campsite, and then we'll have a good look around the bike, and I'll talk about the specs and, well, generally the bike and what it's got to offer. But what I should say is I did comment earlier on in the video about the riding of this bike, and yeah, it hasn't disappointed. This lovely position, this lovely riding position, like I said, just feels like riding an absolute normal bike, and riding along here now is an absolute pleasure. And that pedal assist, I've just popped it into pedal assist level 2 there, and we'll have another go at that level 3. I think yeah, there we go, we're in level 3 now. It's worth it just for that. It is fantastic, that level 3. Like I said, it has level 1 and level 2, but I think the power's safe for that level 3. And yeah, it's great fun. Look at it, look, it just wants to go. Fantastic. Right, so I've got my trusty piece of paper here with the information I need. Now I think that looks really nice, that bike. So let's start at the back. Now it's in the configuration that I like when I go out in my camper van. You know, I like to park up and just ride around the countryside and country lanes and all sorts. And this, I'm finding so far, is absolutely perfect. The extra 2 inches on those wheels, these are 16-inch wheels on this one, and the extra 2 inches on those wheels makes such a difference. And it is a pretty capable little bike. Now we'll start at the back here. So as you can see, I have this pannier kit on the back there. I'll take that off, and then we've got this rack here. Now this rack is part of the bike, it's not screwed or bolted on it, and it's a really substantial rack. You know, I get the impression you could put anything onto that. Anyway, so the rest of the bike, let's make a list. Let's make a start with my list here. So the motor, it's a rear hub motor there, and that's rated at 250 watt with a maximum of 500 watt. The battery there, a removable battery that can be charged either in or out of the bike, and that's a 36 volt 10.4 amp hour lithium battery. The range they claim is 35 to 55 miles. Now I wouldn't say it would do that if you have level assist 3 on or pedal assist 3, but it does pretty well anyway. The battery charge time is around about 4 to 5 hours, and the frame is alloy steel folding frame. It's a complete folding bike. It's got a hinge there for the handlebars and one there which folds the bike in half. Now unusually with this bike, the pedals were not foldable. I actually put those pedals on there to help getting it into my camper van. They're only £6 something, so that's not too bad, is it? The tyres, it's got 16-inch pneumatic tyres on the bike, and the saddle's a breathable ergonomic sport cushion saddle. It is very comfortable. There's no suspension on the back of this bike, but if you wanted to, you could add a suspended seat post. Brakes, it's got disc brakes. Just come around here, there's disc brakes on the rear and disc brakes on the front. They're cable disc brakes, but they do the job on a bike like this perfectly. Now the lights, there's an LED headlight just here. Now that works off of the main battery in the bike. The rear light doesn't. There it is just here. That has its own separate little switch and a battery inside, but you know, easy to do, isn't it? And the suspension, it's got front suspension, as you can see here, which is more than adequate for this little bike. Did I miss anything out? Oh yeah, and it does have an optional thumb throttle just here. It's up to you whether you fit that or not. What I tend to use that for is just a quick boost, because you know the sensors on these bikes sometimes take about 1.5 revolutions once you start pedaling. You know the situation, the bike's wobbling a little bit. Just press that for about 3 or 4 seconds and that gets you going. So here it is. This is the iScooter U4. And to be honest with you, so far this has been everywhere in my camper van with me. And yeah, I just like the look of it, I like the size of it. And one of the best things about this bike, other than some of the smaller ones I've done before, even though it is quite a small bike, the riding position is as high as any normal bike. So, you know, you do feel like you're riding a normal bike on this one. And then of course here we've got the screen just here. It's not colour, but it's more than adequate for this, and you get your what's left in the battery, and the speed you're doing and that sort of thing. The what level assist you're in, it's set here at 2. If you press the plus there, that goes up to 3, minus, and back down again like that. And if you press and hold, that gives walk assist. You see the little man appear there? I'll do that again. There, and it just wants to help you doing that. Anyway, yeah, like I said, and then there is a little bell just here. But yeah, now some of the things I've added on this bike so far is this mirror, which is absolutely fantastic. And also there are the nuts in the bolts in there already to put a drink holder, so I've done that with it. And I have to be honest, I am considering changing the tyres for a little bit more chunky, because basically it is a sort of a commuting bike, isn't it? But I've found with so many bikes you can take them in. Anyway, I'm waffling now. I'll leave it at that. There it is, the iScooter U4. So there you go. That's the iScooter U4. Now I did find that one slightly different to all of the other bikes that I've taken a look at in the past. In particular, the pedal assist. Now I was struggling with it at the start because you know, I kind of get used to the fact that in level 1, in where you've got 3 levels of pedal assist, level 1 is usually around about the 9 miles an hour, level 2 around about the 12 miles an hour, and then level 3 you get the 15.5. Now you would have noticed during this video that it wasn't working exactly like that. But once you get used to it, as I did, it does work really well. Now, when you put it into pedal assist 1, it doesn't really do a lot. If you're on the level or slightly downhill, you can feel a little bit there. Level 2, again, you feel slightly more, and you're looking here at probably only around about 8 miles an hour, and level 2. When you put it into level 3, it wants to rip the bike from underneath you. It really does, and you need to get used to that. But I found that fantastic, because this bike is the sort of bike that you can just, you know, if you're in an urban situation, commuting for example, you could comfortably pedal along on that bike at the lower levels of the pedal assist. Once you were going up a hill and you needed that power, you bring it into level 3 and you got that power. It's amazing. But like I said, it's something you need to get used to. Anyway, I had a lot of fun on that bike. So much so that it's in my camper van now. I've used it several times since while I've had the bike, and I've enjoyed every part of it. As you saw, the rack on the back is substantial, and for me, I like to take a bike with me when I go camping and not just ride around, you know, a little bit of commuting and things like that. I like to actually get out into the countryside. Now this bike handles that really well, and that's what I'll be doing in the future. And I'd like to put a bag on the back with some panniers, and that rack, no problem at all. Anyway, don't forget to check in the description below for any discounts, and if you found this video interesting, why don't you give us a thumbs up? And if you really found it interesting, why don't you consider subscribing? And that's it really. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you the next time. We're Paul and Suzanne, and we'd love you to join us on our days out.